personal awareness that also happens by just the exposure to that environment. So that's one piece that we have introduced, which we are very excited about. And there was one, oh yes, and the final thing is that, you know, leadership is talked a lot about in business schools. This is one that I'm very strongly sort of strident about. I think what has happened in the world is that people have just become extremely tough to work with, you know. And all of us who run organizations spend inordinate amount of time just managing people, and nothing to do with what has to be done, solving problems, strategy. You know, it just is people don't get along. People have edges, they are too wound up, they don't treat each other well. So the question is, how can you make it better on that dimension? And to me, building self-awareness and literally building awareness of what it takes to work in a team and a collaborative environment. These are all cliched terms, but the fact is we don't do much about this in undergraduate education. We leave it to extracurricular activities for people to develop these skills. So we are being very deliberate about this in saying, can we weave the self-awareness, personal development, personal purpose into the curriculum right from day one. So those are some of the elements with which we think we could create a very distinctive set of undergrads. And the last thing I would say is that we are focusing a lot on visual and performing arts. And we feel that kind of builds a certain appreciation and creativity in you that a lot of people are missing these days. So literally just making everyone paint. You know, why should people be intimidated by art? Or that, you know, art is not for me. You know, those are the artsy guys and I'm not. You know, everybody should appreciate color and music and so on. So not force it on people, but make it easy for them to walk into that kind of experience through the 4 years that they are there.
Great. Pardon me, I didn't understand your point about difficulty in working together.
Okay.
Can you just expand it a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I spent most of my years as a management consultant and I run my own business and so on. And, you know, as a CEO, I found CEOs, you know, a lot of our time goes in getting people to work well with each other. You know, half the time people are complaining about each other.
But you're saying this has gotten worse.
I'm saying that it has gotten worse with time. People have become much more focused on their personal achievements and the targets they have to meet and the performance. So what tends to happen is that they tend to kind of not care too much about what the other person feels or how they are perceived by other people.
This is new.
It's not new. It's always been there. I think gradually it has become worse. That's my perception. That as people have become much more focused on outcomes and tasks and performance, they've become less people focused. And that is why you hear so much of people focus. You know, everybody's talking about talent management, everybody's talking about leadership, everybody's talking about 360-degree feedback and so on. But equally, these discussions happen when you are 35, 40 years old, right? In the early days, nobody talks about this. Everybody is just focused on doing and getting the work done. Then when you get to the point where you're getting promoted to be a sort of a manager or a person who's managing people, then people say, okay, so what about Akshay's leadership? You know, so maybe we should send him through a assessment center. And, you know, so we then start assessing and taking feedback. And then people say, well, you know what? He's a great achiever. Sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you, but you know what? He's not very good with people, right? Or he is constantly sort of brushing people the wrong way and he's a slave driver. He's not inspirational enough. Now, you can't suddenly make somebody inspirational when they are 40 years old. You know, either they are or they are not. And if what the best people in the world need to do today is understand what it takes to be inspirational or whether they can ever be inspirational.
This is not a derivative of corruption.
No, there's nothing to do with corruption.
So if we can just...
Sorry.